part 2 of our first chapter of The Circle of Magic, Sandry's book. So far we've met one main character, Sandry. Now to meet our second. In the southeastern pebbled sea, when she sat up and looked at herself, Daja thought she was a ghost. Her skin was all sparkly white. Had an enemy Mamander turned her from a brown trader into a white one? Why on earth would anyone do such a thing? She ran her swollen tongue over cracked lips, tasted salt, and grimaced at her own foolishness. This was no Mamander's doing. It was what happened when a sea-soaked girl went to sleep and didn't wake until the sun was high overhead. She brushed herself off, salt flakes dropping onto her makeshift raft. White brains got into her many cuts and scrapes, where they burned like fire. Her family ship was gone, sunk in a storm that their Mamander could not stop or get rid of. The trader god Koma, known for peculiar acts, had chosen Daja to be the only one left alive, floating on a square wooden hatch cover. All around her lay a spreading pool of wreckage. She saw tangles of rope and lumber, shattered crates, smears of color that were precious dyes from their cargo. Bodies also drifted there, the silent remains of her families. Daja's lips trembled. How long would it be until she joined them? Should she jump into the water now and end it? Drowning was quicker than starvation. Something thumped nearby. An open leather chest slammed against a mast. Again it thumped against the wood as water swelled, then flattened beneath it. She could just glimpse its contents. Some bundles and a dark glass bottle. It was what traders called a suraka, or a suraku, a survival box. They were kept everywhere on the ships. She had to get it, and she prayed that its contents weren't soaked or ruined. Daja reached out. The box was beyond her grasp. She looked around for a long piece of wood to grab it, with no luck. Water surged in another slow roll, and her raft moved away from the wreckage. The box stayed behind. "No!" she cried. "No!" She strained to grab that precious thing, though yards now lay between her and it. "Come here! Come on! I order you!" She half laughed, half cried to hear such foolishness. "Come on!" she whispered, as she had when she coaxed the ship's dogs to come to her with their food bowls. She was not very old after all. She didn't want to die. Tears rolling down her cheeks, she reached out and twitched her fingers as if they were beckoning to her pets. Later, she would wonder if she just imagined it, being crazy with the sun and terrified of death. Now, she stared, jaw dropping as the box pulled away from the mast and floated toward her. It stopped twice along the way. Both times she wiggled her fingers, afraid to move anything else. Both times the box came forward until it bumped her hand. Very, very carefully, she drew her prize onto the hatch cover. It was indeed a suraku, lined with copper to keep the damp out and life in. The bundles were oiled cloth to keep their contents dry. The corks in the bottles had wax seals. Gently, she felt through everything and grabbed a bottle. It nearly took all her strength to wiggle the cork out. When it popped free, liquid sprayed onto her face. Fresh water! Greedily, she drank most of that bottle before she came to her sentence. As if she guzzled it all now, there would be less for tomorrow. She had to save it. She fumbled to put the cork back in. Inspecting the other bottles, she saw they also held water. "Thank you, Trader Koma," she whispered to the god of deals and rewards. In the bundles, she found cheese, bread, apples. She ate carefully in tiny bites as her lips cracked open and bled. All thought of the future had vanished, for right now she was gloriously alive. The suraku lasted for 3 days, and might have lasted for 2 more if she ate less than ever. And all that time she saw no sign of ships. It was still early in the trading season. Captains more cautious than her mother were still in port. Knowing her food was nearly gone, she tried to strike a deal with Koma and his wife, bookkeeper Oti. "I don't look like much now," she told him, her voice only a thin croak, "but I'm a better deal than you think. I'm strong. I know most seamen's not, except maybe the pinned sheepshank, but I'll work on that." She bit her lip. She didn't dare cry. It would mean losing water, with none to replace it. Far away, so far it didn't seem real, she heard the crack of canvas. Was it a dream? Slowly, she turned her head. She was in the trench of a swell. All she could see were the peaks of water on either side. The wind blew as the trench she was in rose and flattened. New smells drifted into her nose. Breathing deep, she recognized the dull odor of brass writing on the back of deep, rusty tang of iron. Metal meant people, didn't it? Metal, except for the bands on her raft, and in the box at her side, went straight to the bottom without a ship to hold it up. "Ahoy!" A man's voice sounded over the water. "Ahoy! Are you alive?" "Yes!" Daja cried. She kept a hand on her beautiful suraku. The other she stretched as high as she dared and waved carefully. If she fell in now, she was far too weak to swim. She lost track of time. It seemed like forever until she heard the splash of oars and saw a longboat come alongside. In its bow sat a lean white man. His large, dark eyes were deep set under thick brows and a heavy fringe of black lashes. He wore long, silver and black hair tied back. A trader to the bone, she noted that his yellow shirt and gray breeches were linen and well made, not a sailor's usual cheap wool. "Hello there," he said casually, as if they'd met at the marketplace. "My name is Niclarin, Goldeye. I've been looking for you. I'm sorry not to have found you sooner." As sailors guided the boat closer, he reached for Daja and pulled her into the boat. Someone held a flask of water to her lips. "Wait!" she cried, voice rasping as she fought to sit up. "My box! There, please, save it!" The sailors looked at Nico, who nodded. Only when they brought the chest into the boat and stowed it next to her did she relax and drink their water. We just met 2 main characters. 1, Daja, and 2, you're going to see quite a bit more of, Nico. I want you to think about, as we're reading these, as we're just reading these first few parts, what do you think, who do you think Nico is? Because they don't really give it away until this next part, I think. Our next part will be introduced to Briar, although that's not what he goes by at first.